Today we're going to be exploring a modern classic Brazilian cocktail called the Macunaima. So this drink was created by a bartender called Arnaldo Hurai in 2014, around the time of the Football World Cup. And essentially what we've got here is a cachaça sour with some kind of flavour accents coming from Ferna Branca, bringing those really nice minty notes and some kind of bittersweet herbal character to the drink. And it's a fantastic drink. So there's a lot to love about this drink and I really do love it. But there are just a few things that I want to work on when I create my own version of this drink later in the video, which is going to be a coffee Macunaima, which I think just really make it more fit for exactly the purpose it's designed for, which has been perfect on a really hot day and a really cold, refreshing drink. But when it comes to cold drinks on hot days, this can be kind of challenging. A, to keep them really nice and ice cold for the whole time you're drinking the drink, and B, to avoid any over dilution as your ice melts. So recently I've been drinking from these, the Fellow Rocky Tumbler and also the Ruby wine glass. And this really resolves that issue, keeping your drinks really nice and cold. And I'll talk about these more in the video, but the Rocky in particular is going to be one of my secret weapons in really leveling up the drink and making it perfect for a hot day. Fellow are also sponsoring this video, so big thanks to Fellow for that. These products are amazing. I really do like them, use them and appreciate them. I'll talk more about them later, but for now, let's get started by making the original Macunaima. The original Macunaima contains cachaça as your main spirit ingredient. We've got lime juice for your acidity. We've got golden castor sugar syrup or a sugar syrup of your choice for your sweetness. And then we've got Ferna Branca as your kind of herbal, bittersweet, fresh ingredient. So these are a really interesting combination. You can adjust how you balance them. You could add more or less spirit for a more or less boozy drink, more or less acidity, more or less sweetness, and more or less Ferna Branca. I've actually made a whole video about how to balance drinks to your own kind of flavor preferences, which I'll link above. But my preferred recipe for this is going to be 50 mils of cachaça, ideally an aged cachaça, 25 mils of fresh lime juice, ideally freshly squeezed, 12.5 mils of golden castor sugar syrup. But as I said, you can experiment with different sugars. You could use a regular castor sugar, you could use a darker sugar, but you just don't want to overpower the drink. And then 7.5 mils of Ferna Branca. So this gets a really good hard shake over ice. And then interestingly, it's served in a low ball glass with no ice and no garnish. So before I talk about any of my very minor criticisms of this drink, I just want to give it a taste and talk about the things I really love about this drink. It is fantastic. As a summer's drink, I don't think it gets much better than this, although there are a few things I do want to talk about. It's fresh, it's vibrant, it's balanced, and it kind of sits between three of my favorite cocktails in the world, which are a daiquiri, a caipirinha, and a mojito. So it kind of tastes like a really grown-up mojito. I think the Ferna Branca brings a really nice kind of mature mintiness, but also a bit of bitterness as well. It's much easier to make than a mojito because you don't need any crushed ice. However, this low ball really doesn't do much for the drink. I'm trying to avoid getting my fingers on the glass, but wherever I hold it, I'm going to be touching the drink, pretty quickly warming it up. It's ice cold now, but that won't last. It's a fairly big drink. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to rush. And that's one of my kind of major issues. So Arnaldo does justify why he serves it in a low ball glass without ice. And that's because the drink's light enough as it is, which I do agree with. But I just think by adding some really nice ice in there, adding a really nice service vessel, adding a garnish, we can just really increase the lifetime of the drink and the kind of visual and aromatic appeal. And in my version, the coffee Macunaima, we're going to bring coffee as a key flavor here, which does a really nice job of bridging everything together. I think it works really nicely. So Arnaldo, incredible job on the Macunaima. I really do love this drink. And before we start making my version, the coffee Macunaima, we're gonna have a quick word from today's sponsor, which is gonna be Fellow. So contrary to what a lot of people seem to think, I don't own the company Fellow, but they're actually sponsoring this video, and I love Fellow as a company. I use their water bottle every day. I use their scales every time I make coffee and cocktails. And now I'm lucky enough to be using these, the Rocky 10-ounce tumbler and the Ruby 12-ounce wine glass, both of which have really leveled up how I drink drinks out of home, but they're also amazing at home as well. So the Rocky is a 10-ounce tumbler, big enough to hold a really big ice cube, and that's perfect for cocktails on the go and also a lot of other drinks. And then the Ruby is a 12-ounce wine glass, designed to capture the aromas of whatever you're drinking from it. They both do an amazing job at keeping the drinks you serve in them exactly the temperature you want them to be. And they've got all the real nice design features, the little attention to detail that you expect from Fellow. So we've got the magnetized swipe to sip lids, which just work really well. I've never seen anything used like this before, and it works really nicely. We've got the really nice thin lip, making the drinking experience from these really high quality, just like drinking from a really nice glass. I think these are very unlikely to break. They're really well made. They should last a really long time. And also, as well as that, they look incredible, as you expect from Fellow. So they come in lots of different colors, as you can see, and I'm a big fan of these products. So I'll link the Fellow website in the description below, so you can check out Rocky, you can check out Ruby, you can check out the full range of things Fellow do, all of which I think are really fantastic. So a big thanks to Fellow for sponsoring this video, and now let's start making the coffee Macunaima. So for my version of this drink, which is going to be called a coffee Macunaima, we're only going to be making very subtle changes. As you can probably tell, I really like this drink. I don't want to change it too much. I want to stay fairly true to the original. And when it comes to the ingredients, the only change we're going to make is switching out our golden castor sugar and switching in coffee saccharum syrup. So this is going to be our kind of coffee flavor which comes into the drink as well as our sweetener. It just bridges the ingredients really nicely, adds a little bit of sweetness, and I think works really nicely. So one thing I will say, you can probably see this doesn't age very well. This has been out here for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. It's no longer ice cold. Still really tasty, but I think when it's really cold, it just comes across a little bit nicer. So we're gonna have a look at this in a minute. But when it comes to the ingredients, we're gonna keep it fairly straightforward. So once again, we're gonna go 50 mils of cachaça, and I'm going with Avua cachaça here, which I think's got a really nice flavor profile. Butterscotch, that really nice kind of green tea astringency, a little bit of oak and a little bit of vanilla. That's gonna be our spirit base. Same amount, 50 mils as before. Again, 25 mils of freshly squeezed lime juice for our bright zip and zing, which is really delicious. And then the big change we're gonna make here, rather than 12.5 mils of golden castor, we're gonna go with 20 mils of a coffee saccharum syrup, which is essentially a zero waste coffee syrup made from leftover espresso pucks or filter grounds. And because this is closer to being a 1-to-1 syrup, 1 part sugar to 1 part liquid, rather than 2-to-1, like we had in our golden castor syrup, I can get away with adding a little bit more, so I've gone 20 mils here. This keeps a really nice balance of sweetness and also brings really nice coffee flavor to the drink. So in order to make this, it's really simple. You can scale it up and down. I went 150 grams or 1 part of our espresso pucks. I combined this with 150 grams or 1 part again of golden castor sugar. Give this a really good stir until it becomes like a really delicious looking slurry, really kind of oily and shiny. And then I added 150 grams or 1 part again of vodka, just for that really neutral base. Also extends the shelf life. It gives you this really delicious coffee forward bittersweet syrup, which I'm a really big fan of. So at the end of the video, I'll link exactly how to make this in kind of long form format. But for now, 20 mils of that. And then to finish the drink, we're gonna go 7.5 mils again of Fernet Branca. For those bittersweet notes, a little bit of herbal kind of flavor in there, and a little bit of mint. So once again, this gets a really good hard shake over ice. And then my second tweak to the original recipe is gonna be serving this in a frozen rocky tumbler from Fellow with a big ice cube in there. So serving this in the rocky tumbler with the big ice cube is gonna serve a few key purposes. First of all, it's gonna keep the drink really nice and cold, maintaining that temperature and avoiding any kind of over dilution from the ice. And then second of all, I think that already looks way better than the original. I really love the way these cups look. Got a nice thin lip which we're gonna drink from. But before we do so, I want to talk about garnishes, because that's going to be the third change I'll make. So in a second, by the magic of time travel, also known as video editing, there are going to be 3 of these in front of me, each with a slightly different garnish, and then we'll taste each one, decide which is our favorite, and then we'll have the final recipe for the coffee Macunaima. So first of all, in the stone blue rocky, we've got a nice big mint sprig. Let's give this one a try first. That's lovely. You get loads of mint on the nose, which is really nice. Really brings out the Fernet. This almost reminds me of a drink we did a little while back in the Essential Cocktails course, which was a black mojito, or a really kind of dark, rich mojito. It's got those kind of intense, almost dark sugars in there, loads of mintiness, really nicely balanced, and I really like that. In the matte white rocky, we've got a dried lime wheel, which doesn't really have much aroma, very minimal, so this is one you can kind of eat. On its own, it's like a bittersweet, citrus sweet, really delicious, but let's see how this affects the drink. The drink feels much sweeter. You get way more coffee coming through. The mint is there, but a little bit more subdued than in the minty Macunaima. I think visually, it doesn't look quite as striking as the mint, but it still tastes really good. I like, but I don't love it as much as the original. And then finally, orange, which is a bit of a curveball. So obviously the drink doesn't contain orange. It does contain citrus, it contains coffee, it contains Fernet and cachaça, which all kind of work nicely with orange. But let's see how this impacts the drink. It's really different. This almost tastes like chocolate orange. It's really brought out the coffee notes, but the kind of chocolatey aspect of them. It's really tasty, really fresh. The kind of sweet citrus from the orange is really nice. I do like it. But I do think the winner is going to be the mint sprig in the coffee Macunaima. So whichever one of these you go for, I think you're gonna be onto a winner. I think you're gonna really enjoy this drink. I really did. I like the original. I like the coffee version. I think they're really delicious. Perfect summer drinks. Looking amazing in the rocky tumblers, with the garnish, with the ice. They taste amazing. They're really, really cold. And I'm just really happy with this drink. So once again, big thank you to Fellow for sponsoring the video. Check out the website in the description below. Check out the Rockies, check out the Rubies. Thanks to Fellow for sponsoring. Thanks to you for watching. I'll put the video with everything you want to know about coffee saccharin for you to watch here. There'll be more coffee cocktail fun here, and make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking just here. So I'm gonna go back to our minty boy. This is the coffee Macunaima. I've enjoyed making it, I've enjoyed sharing it, and I'll see you soon. There's the seagulls. Cheers.